Welcome to this month's Friends You Keep. As they say, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And at Air and Wellness, we believe that sustainable health and wellness is an accumulation of 5 pillars: the thoughts you think, the friends you keep, daily movement, nutrition, and lastly, supplementation. So each month we feature guests doing exceptional things that will hopefully inspire you to step into all you are destined to be. Well, hello, everybody. So today we have Linda Biggs with us, and Linda Biggs is the co-founder of Joni, a 21st century period care brand making sustainable products accessible to everyone who needs them. Joni is taking a grassroots approach to shake up the billion-dollar monopolized Femtech industry with an innovative, award-winning, free-vend commercial period care dispenser to support a national shift towards free period care in workplaces and schools. Yay, jazz hands, it's about time. As a mother of 2 daughters, Linda feels a strong need to connect with what she does every day in a world where she wants to help create it for them. Love that. Love that. Aww. Thank you so much for coming on here today. I know you're super busy.
We all are. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
And just even with, I was thinking about this, we're obviously in different areas, but we're both really trying to champion women to step up and take care of themselves and to also create new conversations. Like I'm trying to look more menopause and perimenopause and those things, and creating conversations where women don't feel ashamed or they can't talk about it. So I really admire what you guys are doing with Joni. So I'm excited to share and have our listeners hear everything that you guys are up to.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat.
Yeah. Great. So let's just start. What motivated you to start a women's menstruation brand? I mean, that's not many little girls are like, periods. That's what I want to do when I'm older.
No, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to start a menstrual care brand, but life, how you have these serendipitous moments. I had a very corporate career. I have a tech background actually, and then I kind of moved through all of these different jobs. I was like climbing the corporate ladder, doing all the shoulds, really. And I just got disillusioned. Tech is a very male-dominated field, and I got burnt out. So I started focusing all of my generalist skill sets working with female founders. And so then I got a taste for what it's like to be, going from a team of 1 to a team of multiples and being able to lay the foundation for that. And then I was like, it's time for me to do my own thing. And serendipitously, I was introduced to Jayesh, my co-founder, and he's a pharmacologist by trade. And so he was studying feminine hygiene. I'm going to use quotes there because we know that's a euphemism, in university for his master's degree. And he was he's from India and he was in Canada. And he's like, why does Canada have a period poverty problem? So anyway, long story short, we connected. I felt really passionate that there was a gap in the market. I felt there was something missing for me as someone who menstruates. I realized I resonate more with a shoe brand than I did with any period care brand. And I asked myself why. And I think it's because the world has changed, but these big brands haven't. And so I wanted to create something that I, as a natural consumer, could feel really proud of. As a mother, I would feel good giving to my girls who are now, my oldest is starting to menstruate, and just all of the things. And this word kept coming up, unapologetic. And that's really how I want us to feel about taking care of ourselves, including our menstrual cycle and having those conversations. So Joni was born out of that.
I love that. And so when you kind of mentioned the conventional brands, and obviously we looked at that $1 billion, that's that's crazy if you think about it. So when you kind of look at what is the difference between Joni and between the regular convention brands on the market today?
Yeah, I mean, from a product perspective, we are using the highest quality, most sustainable ingredients that we can find. So for pads, we're using bamboo because we know it takes a significantly less amount of water than cotton manufacturing does. It's also, everyone has their favorite bamboo t-shirt. It's super soft. You like to wear it. That's what the pads are. They're seriously so soft. They're super absorbent and they're breathable. Breathability is a really important factor because a lot of people get rashes or irritation when their pads are not breathable. And we know that these conventional brands are using petroleum-based products, plastics. And so a lot of issues come up with that. There's no ingredients listing, or if they are, you can't pronounce them, or you don't know what they are, you have to look them up. So in terms of conventional brands, there's just been very little incentive for them to change and innovate because
Well, they
people who
haven't.
use menstrual
Buy them.
care need them, right?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
you know that you have a market there, you know you need them. So
yeah,
there's just been very little innovation, and the innovation that's happened is kind of perpetuated the stigma. So like discreet wrappers, for example.
yeah,
Why do we need discreet wrappers? Because like the stigmas are, I mean, these rappers should be loud as hell and
yeah,
like, you know,
yeah,
we're
exactly.
menstruating, like step aside in my mind. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not putting these up my sleeve.
She
I'm
gets
dancing
sparklers.
and
That's a new marketing thing. Sparklers as you're walking to the bathroom.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, so really Joni as a product, we're using really sustainable materials. Our tampons are 100% organic cotton, like from
Nice.
the tampon to the string, because this is an area, you know, our vaginas are
Yeah,
very sensitive. Like this is an important aspect to health.
100%.
So we just want to make sure we're transparent. We disclose all our ingredients. And then from a brand perspective, going back to that idea of unapologetic, Joni really is like defining menstruation as a normal bodily function so we can have conversations around it without using these euphemisms and using like real terms, because that is important when it comes to health. It's going to make us feel more comfortable going to our doctors, asking for help if there's something going on. We can talk to friends about it. We don't have to be in the shadows about it. And I think that the images that we've seen around, you know, women dancing through, you know, fields of flowers with like big smiles on their faces, or like wearing white shorts while playing tennis. Like, can we just stop it with those images? Like finally blue liquid stopped in like literally
Yeah,
2020.
yeah,
So Joni's just really pushing the boundaries on that. I mean,
yeah,
it seems radical, but for us, it's just what should have
yeah.
been
Like
all
common
along.
sense, 100%,
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
Love that. And so with period, what is, for those who don't know, what is period equality? What is that?
Yeah. So period equity really
Equity,
is,
sorry. I
it's
looked at
okay.
it.
It is
Okay.
equality. Like,
Read the word wrong.
uh, no, it's really about people who menstruate, because you know definitely not all women and those who identify as women menstruate, and not
Mhm.
everyone who
Yeah.
menstruate identifies as a woman. So people who menstruate have the first of all, like hygienic facilities to be able to take care of themselves, have the products that they need to be able to take care of themselves during their menstrual cycle, and have the education that they need to understand what's happening and be able to advocate for themselves if something doesn't feel right. So it's just foundational elements that, you know, we feel is a human right.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, in Canada, 1 in 3 women under the age of 25 cannot afford period care. So
Like
we're
that is
talking
shocking. That's a
it.
shocking stat.
This
Like
is
I
a
did not
first
know
world
that.
country
Yeah.
that,
Like
you know,
what?
people are missing out on sports, school,
Yeah.
work, like life opportunities because they're menstruating. And so oftentimes we think about this idea of period poverty as like, oh, well, that's happening in, you know, a third world country
Yeah.
internationally. Like we should do something to support it. That's literally happening in our backyard, in your
Yeah.
neighborhood. You
Yeah.
know, this is happening. And what we saw over the pandemic was that 1 in 3 is probably grossly understated.
Wow.
And that there's very likely more. We know in North America, statistics show that over 16 million people struggle to find period care, or be able to purchase period
Wow.
care in North America, or sorry, in just in the US and Canada. And studies show that 87% of people who menstruate, so in the US and Canada, that's over 90 million people, have been caught off guard.
Wow.
And because we don't have, you know, period care available in our public facilities and around us, that means that they're, you know, missing out on school and work and all of those opportunities because they now have to find a solution.
Well, I've had that
Um,
happen, right? How many times I mean, how many times that happened that you all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what? And then
I
you're
don't,
like, crap, I
yeah,
don't have anything on me. And then like your whole day changes. So you have to go home and get you like the whole thing. Yeah, you don't have any, tampons. You have to find a store. You have to, and if you don't have the finances,
mm-hmm,
then what?
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Then you're using things like rags,
Yeah.
sponges, socks,
Yeah.
cardboard, makeshift
Yeah.
pads. Like these are things that can cause real health issues. There's a level of dignity that you don't have there. Like
100%.
so that's why we feel it's a human right. But there's been a lot of progress. Like period poverty is something I think 5 years ago people have been like, no, like really, is that a thing here? And now actually the federal government just changed the labor code.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you heard, but so now federally regulated organizations, that's like hundreds of organizations in Canada, are required to provide their workers with free pads and tampons,
Amazing.
just like they would
Amazing.
toilet paper. And this is a start. This is not like
Yeah.
the solution, but this is a start. And we know that private organizations are moving in that direction. We work with a lot of them across Canada because they're looking at their UN sustainability goals. How are they making their workplaces more equitable? This is absolutely one way they can move in that direction. And it's just good business practice.
100%. Well, and I've seen, so I've saw your products on the shelf. So yay.
Yeah.
I love that. So I've seen also you guys have the dispensary. So that's kind of what you guys are proposing. And hopefully, will you guys be part of the workplace initiative that the government's launching? I'm assuming you guys are in there like pushing like crazy, trying to be.
Yeah, I mean, we've been advocating for change in the space and policy change since we started. We're a social enterprise, so we give back 5% of our revenues to period equity initiatives in Canada. So to date, we've donated over 110,000 products, and we work with over 20 nonprofit organizations. But it's through those relationships that we learned about like the biggest pain points. And a pain point for many people who menstruate, whether you can afford it or whether you can't, is access. Oftentimes organic period care is not available in many communities across Canada, or it costs, $40 for a box of pads in very remote communities. So now you have to like either go without or use a product that you might not feel comfortable using. So Joni has always been on a mission to make sustainable period care accessible to everyone who needs it. And that's why we take this omni-channel approach. So we're online. So if you're living in a remote community in Canada, you could literally get a subscription with free shipping, and you can get organic period care for $7 a month. Like,
that's amazing.
That's like making that accessible.
That's a no-brainer, and that's a no-brainer for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how you like to, if that's your access point, or some people like to go into retail, and so then you have an organic option that works like a conventional brand, but is as good for your body and for the planet as an organic brand, and it's an accessible price point. And we're rolling out to, I think we're in just over 350 retailers across Canada now, so that's growing. And then of course the dispensers is really the biggest access point, because now we're working with universities, private organizations, airports, and they're providing free period care to not only their workers, but to travelers and to the people that are visiting, because 26% of the population menstruates. And I know that like a lot of times people in the facilities departments are not people who menstruate. So they maybe not aware of like, they don't have a lived experience of, being caught off guard. So I often equate it to like, imagine that you're sitting, for people who don't menstruate, imagine that you're sitting in a public restroom toilet, and you're, doing your thing, and you reach over that roll of toilet paper and it's empty. What do you do? Like, it's an oh shit moment. You're like, oh literally. My goodness. Yeah. And that's exactly the feeling that people who menstruate have. And so providing them with these options is just the right thing to do when you're out and about, at school, at work. And so that's where the dispensers come in, and they're super innovative. They
love the
reduce
colors,
waste.
love the colors too.
Yeah. Why does everything have to look so terrible?
Yeah. Like
talking about menstruation.
Horrible tin things that are rusted, and you're just like, I mean,
or empty, or they have like 50 cents that you just never, who carries change around anymore.
100%. That's amazing. And I actually didn't ask, I should have asked in the beginning, what does Joni stand for? That's a really important question.
Yeah. Well, everyone thinks my name is Joni, but
I know, that's what I thought way back too. And then I'm like, oh, her name's Linda. Her name's not Joni. Okay.
I know. I often get called Joni. That's okay. I'll take it. It really is inspired by, we're not affiliated with her in any way, but Joni Mitchell is a Canadian singer-songwriter. She's, spearheaded her category in Canada. She's very, my mother-in-law played her quite often I lived with my in-laws for a while with my husband, and we had these dinner parties, and she would always play Joni Mitchell. So it was very like nostalgic for me. But from a business perspective, like, it was available. I was visually beautiful. It was inclusive, like it wasn't gendered. And also I just wanted like something that looked good on the package, and it was short and sweet and sticky. So a combination of like the nostalgia from Joni Mitchell, who we're not affiliated at all.
One day I'll have to tell her, be like, just I know.
I wonder. I mean, she's well past that stage now, but she's definitely a role model. But and then just the fact that it was different than what was on the market. I didn't want anything that was like hyper feminine and like stereotyped, like what's on the shelves right now. Because I don't necessarily like pink or purple.
one of the things when I did Up and Away was the same thing. So that's our boric acid
Mm.
vaginal suppository.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be vaggie or
Mm.
gyna or,
Mhm.
and I was like, what am I going to call this thing? Like, and I was really racking my brains, and I really believe that, you know, things come to you in those light bulb moments. And I was
Yes.
actually at my old house in Burnaby, I was making my bed and I had my duvet cover and I was doing this, and all in my mind, I went up, up and away. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, that's the name. And I'm like, I ran downstairs. I called my girlfriend, I'm like, Up and Away, because you put it up and it goes away.
Away. I love it. I love it.
So
I have to give my husband credit though, because when we were trying to think of the name, I had this notebook with me on my bedside table for like a couple days, and I was like in agony. Like everything I thought of, I was like, I discounted. So he's like, listen, I'm gonna go for a walk. He likes to take these late night walks. He's like, I'm gonna come back with 3 names. So he went for his walk. He came back, and he mentioned 3. I only heard 1, which was Joni, and I was like, that's it. That's totally it. So it really is to my husband's credit.
That's so amazing. Well, and I think one of the things too is changing the conversations around periods, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of mentioned that, but I mean, as parents, I mean, I'm mother to a daughter as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, when she got her period, I was like, this is so amazing. This is so amazing that you're a woman, you get to have a period every month. And what a miraculous thing. All the things you get to create life. We had this whole conversation about it. And it was funny because I was talking to my girlfriend later that day and she's like, a little different than my message to my daughter. And I'm like, why? She goes, I said, welcome to hell for the rest of your life. I'm like, oh my God, you said that? She's like, yeah, I did. I was like, so even that when we were up in Kelowna talking yesterday and, you know, sending that message to women about let's change that, you know, hell week and like all of these conversations surrounding our period. And if you are experiencing hell week, then you need to take a look at, you know, your health issues and whatnot, but really changing that conversation or that definition of what a period is, right? So,
yeah.
And in that's, I mean, obviously that's what you guys are doing too, hopefully with your brand, with your messaging.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I have 2 daughters and my oldest just started menstruating last year. And, I wanted to throw her a period party, but she wanted nothing to do with it. My youngest is ready for a period party. She's like, I want red velvet cake. I want amazing. Like all of it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely the next generation is definitely changing. I think that, you know, my youngest for sure she's not menstruating, but her mother owns a period care company and she knows, like her friends know that. So they go to her, ask her questions. And
that's great.
My daughter's like, if I don't know it, she'll come and ask me. And we have this open conversation about it. And I think that that's really important is to be able to speak openly about it. It's like a natural bodily function. There's no stigma here. And it happens at different times for everyone, and everyone has a different experience with it, and all of it is okay. And so if we share more of these stories, like I read an interesting statistic recently that the number 1 place where people or new menstruators get their information is corporations. And then it's their friends and family or parents. So I feel like we have a huge obligation as a company to make sure that we're distilling the right information and education that is empowering those like new menstruators, because those first few experiences are really important for how you're going to go on, right? And then also like how your menstrual cycle changes as you go through, like, you know, before kids, after kids, like it just, as you age, things change. Perimenopause, you know, perimenopause is not talked about. You know this. Like
I know this. That's why we've been doing the talks on it.
Exactly. Like it's just like the fact that even my doctor was like, well, you know, like menopause, you might be, and I'm like, it's perimenopause. Like use the right term. Like menopause is 1 day.
Yeah, perimenopause is like up to 7 years. And that's what we're talking about like, it's a long period of time. And that's when you're going to have the symptoms. And that's when you really, perimenopause is a long period of time.
Yeah, well, exactly. Perimenopause is the long period of time, and menopause marks the 1-year anniversary of when you haven't had your period. And I think like though, even just that information, I just don't think we know enough. And I know, like, I know, you know that. So it's wild to me.
Yeah. And just even we did the talk in Vernon. We had was a full house of women all going through
Yeah.
perimenopause, right?
Yeah.
And really questioning, I feel insane? My anxiety is picked up. My periods some of them still have regular periods, but they're feeling all these different things. And
Yes.
we talked really about I always call it like the romper room mirror. I'm like, I see Billy and Bobby. But your perimenopause is really a view to what's going on. If you've had really horrible PMS, then looking at changing some health and nutrition habits to hopefully then as you graduate towards menopause, right? So it's definitely an under discussed conversation. And what's really I think is hopeful is that I've seen so many more articles talking about menopause, so many more women of Oprah Winfrey, all these women really talking more about menopause and periods and creating more of a conversation, which then really falls in line with both what we're doing, right? Trying to, from our own level, trying to create that conversation as well. So,
I love it. Yeah. And people don't have to suffer in silence. I think that's the biggest, this is something we take out of the shadows and we have, because there's so many people that are in the same boat.
Yeah. And who don't want to talk about it, who don't,
exactly.
Right. And there's just so many options, be it HRT or whatever you choose to do, but it's about living, I talked to one woman at Vernon, and she said to me, she was always so scared of hormone replacement therapy. I'm like, go get your panel, go get checked out. I go, my mom has had HRT for 20 years, actually.
Yeah.
And she feels fantastic. So living with, being completely not happy and uncomfortable in your body, and it's not worth it. So go to advocate for yourself. And if they won't do it, then go to another doctor and advocate and get yourself taken care of. Right. So I agree with that. So back to Joni. So you just came back from Chicago. And I know you guys won something major. I was watching it. You won a pitch contest, but there's more to it. So tell me a little bit about what happened in Chicago.
Yeah, so we were invited to this accelerator that was led by Adyen. Adyen's a fintech company based out of Amsterdam. Actually, they're a Dutch company, and so they're like huge. They're like billions and billions of dollars. They're like Stripe for enterprise. And so they do this accelerator as a way of giving back. It's their social impact. Then they want to help support social enterprises like Joni. So there was 13 ventures that went from Canada, the US, and Mexico, and we all met in Chicago, which is a fantastic city, for 5 days. And they took us through, lots of presentations. We did a lot of learning, a lot of collaboration, worked on our pitches, and essentially ended on Friday with this picture competition, which a few judges from industry, investors, and whatnot. And essentially we were at this WeWork building, gorgeous building. And the top floor has this massive basketball court that they converted into this massive stage. And then we had all the ventures had their little booths. And there was 150 people there that they invited. They did a phenomenal job. The night before the pitch, Jayesh and I got some feedback that the story wasn't landing. Essentially the message wasn't resonating. And we were kind of bummed because we'd worked really hard on this pitch. And this putting a deck together is tough. And so we went back to the hotel. We're just okay, let's just eliminate. Let's just what's the core message? What are we trying to get across here? And what we're trying to get across was this idea. Most of the people in the audience were not menstruators. And so it was how do we then make sure that they understand what the issue is? And so we actually told that story about sitting on a toilet to start, and it was
they would totally light bulb moment.
Yeah, the gas from the audience, and we're okay, I think they're going to take that away. But we were judged on a few different things, like impact, traction, a few different things, and so opportunity to scale. And so they announced us as a winner, and it's just been a phenomenal validation, both from a business standpoint, but also from don't give up. The night before we were kind of bummed, but just keep going. So, startup life is a roller coaster ride. It's like a bucking bull, I call it, but it's a fun one and I love it. And I can't imagine doing anything else. So I'm here for it.
Yeah. It is like a roller coaster. You're yay. But when you're oh shit, and you're at the bottom of the roller coaster, you're trying
all within a 24-hour period.
It's hours. You're oh my God, this is so amazing. Oh my God, what? It's just my labels were printed wrong. How is that possible? $5 out the window. And then you have to wait 2 weeks to get your labels printed. All of those things just constantly. Every morning you wake up, you're okay, you have your list as we talked about before we came on. And then it's you end up putting more things in.
I know the list never gets shorter. It just gets longer.
It just gets longer. It gets carried over to Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
So it's all right. Yeah. So where do you see Joni in 5 years?
So I would really like to see Joni be everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
accessibility is a big part of our mission. And so I want Joni to be at retailers. We're the only Canadian disposable, sustainable period care brand on retail shelves.
Really? You're the
Yeah.
only one?
Only one.
Oh, wow.
There's reusables, but there's no disposable Canadian brand. So we're the only one, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
2023.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing,
yeah.
but it's crazy.
Yeah. And then through our 5%, we want an impact. So being working with more nonprofits, really just want to move period equity forward and make it possible in Canada. I really believe we can get there with many different layers. And working with a lot of organizations, I would really like to see Joni at workplaces, at schools. And we're rolling that out and that's happening, but in a much bigger way across Canada and the US. So yeah, I would like periods to be, Joni to be synonymous with periods and menstruation.
Amazing. Well, I'm definitely championing you. So that's
Thank
awesome.
you.
All right. So personal questions. We got 3 personal questions. So what is one thing you would tell your 20-year-old self?
Oof. I would tell my 20-year-old self to dream big. I think that I never really allowed myself to dream big. I always pushed, I was always very ambitious, but I was very ambitious in like the shoulds. So like the very corporate side of things, like I should be working, like getting a promotion here. I should be getting like this type of job. But I think if I had the opportunity to really step back and like Linda, what do you really want? What do you really want to do? I think maybe I would have just taken, I'm happy where I am for sure. And I feel very privileged as well. But I think that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self, to dream big. That's what I tell my daughters.
Yeah. I love that. And what inspires you?
Oof. I get inspiration from a lot of different things and people. You inspire me. I think that all the women and all the entrepreneurs that don't have the stereotypical founding story inspire me. I'm inspired by the underdogs, essentially. I'm inspired by everyone who doesn't fit the stereotypical model and then does it anyway. There's a really great quote that says, the bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly, but the bumblebee doesn't know that. So it goes on flying anyway. And I really think that that's how like underdogs really do it. It's like we do it because we have to do it. Yeah. I'm inspired by my daughters. I think having children really pushes your buttons, but also like challenges you to reflect on who you are and what do you want to leave in terms of a legacy as a parent. And 100%. That's a big inspiration for me.
100%. And what are you most proudest of in your life? There's probably a lot of things you're proud of, but is there something that kind of stands out for you?
I'm so proud of my daughters.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, it's a go-to answer, but I'm just so phenomenally proud of the human beings and the good people that they are. Yeah. And just being able to witness them growing up. It's so bittersweet, but it's just the thing I'm most proud of. It's my number one, right? That's the most important thing.
I know I have like a 14-year-old going on 22 and she's taller than me now. And it's funny my mom flies in and takes care of her, or if she's with her when I leave. So a lot of the time we're like, she'll fly in the morning. Like I don't even see her when she comes, right? It's just like this because she supports me and helps me. But the last time she was here, she was like, she has turned into such a lovely girl, Erin. Because there was a real struggle for a couple of years where it was like, I am going to literally kill her. And I saw moments.
I hear you.
Like, you're this close to being kicked off the island. But it's been really interesting this past 6 months. There's almost this kind of like shift. And I don't know if it's a recognition of how much work I do. Right. And so maybe there's a little bit of that in there as well, but it's been, it's incredible having children. Right.
Yeah.
I never wanted kids. So I'm so happy. Now I'm like, oh, thank you so much.
I know.
Thank you.
I know. I thought for sure I had kids like later. So I had my first at 30 and I knew that I always wanted them later, but I thought I was going to have boys. Like I was a tomboy growing up. I just was like, we're going to have boys. My husband's side is all boys. And then you have 2 girls. And then I have 2 girls, but like, honestly, good thing I don't get a chance to pick because it was, so grateful.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. But first I want you to do all your shouts at like website, social media, where can people find you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we are online at getjoni.com and that's in Canada and the US. And then we're available at, we're online at socials at get_Joni. And that's Instagram and Twitter. Actually, we're on Twitter, but we're not super active on Twitter. But oh God, TikTok.
Instagram, TikTok, yeah.
TikTok, my nemesis.
I know. It's like, have we posted anything this month?
Yeah, I know. And then we are in like 350 retailers across Canada. Awesome. So well.ca, A Healthy Planet, PharmaSave, London Drugs. So if there's a location that you don't find us, like let us know, but you can find us at our store locator online.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
and
you.
chatting today. This has been fantastic. Yes. And thank you everybody for joining us. Stay tuned. We have another one coming up next month. But this has been a completely awesome conversation about period care. So I learned a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.